Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in beautiful Wareham, Massachusetts. I'm here with my friend, Ona. Hello, Ona.
Hello. How are you guys?
Ona from Ona's Tarot. Every morning we get Ona's reading, then we get mine because Ona gets up earlier than me, even though she's an hour behind me, right?
Yeah. I have to see the night sky.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just become routine. My body just sort of wakes up at that time now, and I try, even if it's raining, we get into a routine. I stir, the dogs stir, and then the whole circus curtain gets open.
Well, that is the most psychic time of the day, like around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. That's when we're most open to spirit, I think, and to the other side. So
there's no influence of the day. There's no news yet. There isn't a lot bombarding me, and that's the easiest.
Yes, and I grew up in the city. I grew up in Jersey City, New Jersey, which is right across the river from New York City. So there was always lights, there was always noise. It's sirens and people, and it's an industrial center. And
yeah,
at night when I lived there, I loved the nighttime much better than I loved the daytime. The daytime was often too stimulating for me. And so I would do some of my best thinking at night. And you live in the city, so I know that. The other interesting thing is Gemini is connected to living in the city. Did you know that?
no, I didn't.
Yes, it's city. It's Gemini is a city thing, and Sagittarius is, the open plains, right? The don't fence me in kind of energy.
Yeah.
So with this new moon in Gemini, and then the full moon in Sag, it's sort of a push pull between, city mouse and country mouse.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's time to start to appreciate space.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, there's city is good too, because city forces you to have neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the things that you can get away with in the country is you can be isolated and you can be in your own little world. But in the city, you're always like up against people.
Yeah,
And
it's a goal.
yeah, and it's hard. I mean, I not to like make this about gun laws or something, but they're trying to like change the law in New York City so that you don't need a permit to have a hidden, gun, whatever they call that.
Conceal and carry.
Concealed. Yeah. I think that's what's happening. I don't really know that. I know that there's like this. I think this is what it is. So if anybody knows and I said it wrong, I apologize. So you can correct us, but don't get angry, right? But they're like, there's so many people. It's like 8 million people in New York City. He says there's more people in New York City than there is in like some states. Yeah. So you can't like have everybody like banging up against each other in the subway with all these weapons, but so there's this country city thing. I think and I think that, we have to sort of have both. You need both. And we have to start like not thinking that people who live in the city are the enemy, or people that live in the country are the enemy.
Yeah.
I think there's a real need for
trying to bring the country into the city. That's why I'm trying to do the farm work. And
that's right.
Farm work here is to get people. It really hurts me when I walk Giblets that there's so much grass. Yeah. So much space that could be used to grow food.
Yes, absolutely.
The trees we have along the street could be pear trees grow like crazy around here, right? Why not?
Right.
People could pick pears. I mean, it's so easy to do, and everything's like manicured and green. And I walk through it. I'm like, grass doesn't look like this. This isn't grass,
I know, because I walk around my yard and I look around, and we don't use any. you know,
Right.
no seed. Everything is natural, right? But when you walk like 3 steps and there's like 1,000 different kinds of plants, it's just
Mhm.
so much healthier. It's just so much healthier than those green lawns, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I wish my neighbors would just have green, just let the grass grow, let whatever grows grows, and mow it. Because if you mow it, it looks like grass. It doesn't look like a bunch of different things. It doesn't all have to be this like one homogenous thing.
We're starting to see a little bit of people planting vegetables in front of their house now.
Yep.
We're starting to see that creep in a little bit, not so much around here, a little bit further in. People are trying to have city chickens
Right.
and
Well,
right.
community gardening is, you know, is wonderful, is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
You know, you just, a lot of times in the city, you have to bring the soil in, you know, unless you're composting. And now people are like even getting into composting. They have this thing, like a Lomi or something. I keep seeing
Mhm.
advertisements for it, and incinerates your food and creates soil. It incinerates your scraps, you know, not meat, but you know, your vegetable
Yeah.
scraps and stuff like that.
So you can use that in a small space. Like I don't have
You could, but it's just a little machine, and you put all your things in, and it makes soil. Yeah, it's called Lomi. But I think like one of the other things that might be something that we could do in this new moon, or like people could like do, is community gardening. I mean, with your neighbors, right? You garden with your neighbors, and then those community gardens, you get what you get from it, right? And then you could offer the rest of the food for people who have more food insecurity. You
right.
know, I mean, a lot of these community gardens feed the community,
They do.
you know, and I think that's what we need. We need to feed our community.
Yeah.
And of course, we're in a world community, right? I mean, when you look at what's going on in the Ukraine, where the Russians, I don't know if this has changed, but last I heard, the Russians weren't allowing the Ukraine to export their grain. So and it's like the grain in the Ukraine feeds like 40 million people, and
Yeah.
most of that grain goes to the Middle East, where all the countries there are in dire need, and Africa. So it's like, you know, we have to just stop this insanity, all this waste that we do, killing each other when we could just feed each other.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so simple that, and that I think is the
It's
paradigm shift.
horrible. It's horrible. My daughter worked at the deli and another restaurant, and she's like, the waste made her cry.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's like, it's really bad. It's really bad.
yeah. I know. I was watching a thing with Michael about that in like the stores, like they put this beautiful fruit out, and if it's out a certain amount of time, they have to get rid of it. It's not like it's still nutritious, it's still good, they get rid of it. And these people were going around, they had this thing that they created where they took all that and then they put it in like a food bank. So
Mm-hmm.
people are getting all this premium food,
Yeah.
right, and for nothing, because somebody had to go get it because they're going to throw it out anyway.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and there's so much. I think this is like 30%.
Oh,
It's like a 30% waste, and that a lot of it creates greenhouse gases.
yeah.
Just the production, and then the transportation, and then they throw it out, and then they have to transport it to the landfill. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. Why are we wasting when there are people that are living on $1 a day and can't have food? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's so out of balance.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that the North Node in Taurus is pointing that out to us, honestly. And with Uranus in Taurus, you know, creating all these, you know, problems with food, Taurus,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, we knew there was that feeling there that food was going to be there was going to be an issue
Yeah.
with food, and I can't remember what it was, but we knew, like, time to
Uranus in
store, don't
Taurus.
panic, but time to store, make sure you have for enough, like, 3 months, just in case. You don't know, things that won't perish. Yeah, baby formula. How about that?
Well, the interesting thing about baby formula is, first of all, why I think a lot of the, like most of the baby formula goes to poor people. It doesn't go, I mean, maybe it does, but there were only 4 labs creating it. And the lab that got shut down was shut down because they contaminate. Imagine how bad it has to be to contaminate baby formula.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason that it was contaminated was because they weren't cleaning the facility, because they weren't making enough money. They didn't care. And it's going to mostly poor people. So it's like, it's like this, we don't care. We don't care if you're poor. We don't care for you, especially if you're poor.
That's interesting because Abbott was one of the developers of the vaccine who actually took federal money to develop a vaccine. Pfizer wasn't, Moderna was, Johnson & Johnson was, and they probably had to redirect resources to develop more, push more energy towards COVID resources.
I know, but I think
a lot of those places.
I would bet that they're going to go where the money is. There's no money in baby formula, so they didn't care.
Yeah,
they didn't care. But the poor, the people, I think, a lot of these formulas have to go. It's just a mess. It's a mess. And on the same token, trying to tell women that they have to have babies, whether they were raped or whether it was incest, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you're 13. It doesn't matter that the mortality rate for a young, not to mention the psychological damage, and then what it does to the fetus. Can you imagine being the fetus of a girl who gets raped and has to have the baby?
Right.
What kind of energy are you stewing in?
Right. Exactly. I forgot what I was going to say, but my mom used to say stuff like that. Like, what you're thinking affects the baby.
Yes.
If you're breastfeeding the baby, if you're carrying the baby, like, you have to, if you're angry all the time, you're going to have an angry baby. Yeah. This was the wisdom of the witches, right?
The Stregas.
If you're angry all the time, you're going to have an angry baby, right? If you don't want that pregnancy, there's going to be something wrong with that baby.
Yeah.
Right. No matter what, women are still going to have access. And I don't understand. This is really, to me, to stay objective and think of it as like an experiment of the human condition here. I don't understand why people are obsessed with the unborn.
It's just power. It's power over. Women have the power of life. Mm-hmm. Men only have the power of death.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, really, they can. I mean, we do need men. I mean, it's silly. We need each other. We can't have a baby without a man, but you can't have a baby without a woman's body to have the baby in.
Right. And it's all control.
It's just control. It's just the patriarchy. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily the men. It's the system of power over dynamics of I have the power to tell you what to do with yourself. Whether it's an abortion or a vaccine, we have to have autonomy over ourselves. So, you also have to be informed. So it's not just that, but I mean, we have to have that isn't that the right, an unalienable right to ourself? Isn't that what, like, slavery, the sin of slavery, that people felt that they could own another person? Yeah, they had power over another person simply because they were from another country, or they they looked different or they were darker. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Right. You know, at the same time, Illinois now passed a law where you can get Plan B by mail.
Yeah.
Just this week. So, you know, my head was like, oh my God, I wish I had a case of it. And, you know, ride my bicycle through, you know, Oklahoma.
Right.
And
Right. Yeah. Go down to Texas. Go down.
Throw them out the basket.
Yeah.
Like, send them to me. I'll send them there.
Yeah.
I'll send them there. Like, I'll drive them there. Yeah, I thought, so it just got even a little bit easier here.
Well, you know, yeah, well, that's what's going to happen. I mean, there are like even I think in Connecticut, they passed some law to make it more accessible.
Good.
Or Connecticut said anybody from any state who wants to come here can come. Like there's no, you know, that's it. You're invited. Like, yeah. But you know, a lot of places, you know, people can't get out. People can't go to Connecticut, you know. But I think one of the things, like, so maybe Roe versus Wade doesn't get overturned. They keep saying it's going to. I'm not sure about that. I just have a feeling that somebody may not go along with it, or they may not go through with it. But I think what's going to happen is going to create more interconnection. And there's, you know, back in the day, there, you know, people would go for these back alley abortions because that was their only option. We have more options now.
Right.
So it's not just going to be what it was before. There'll be that, right? But you know, but having a baby is dangerous. I didn't have a child. I saw it happen. You had a child. It's as close to death as a woman gets in life, really.
Sure felt like it.
You know, and how many, like my grandmother had like 17 pregnancies. There were women who had like all these pregnancies and they died. I was reading something on Mary Todd Lincoln, which is interesting. And her mother, she had a wonderful mother and a wonderful father. Her mother had like her 6th or 7th child and died after the child was born. And so she was like, I don't know, 6 or 7 when her mother died. And it, you know, it changed her whole life. It scarred her because her mother, there was no birth control. You know what I'm saying? So like women have been giving their lives up, you know, for centuries. And, you know, we have to be able to say no, just like you have to say no. There was just something passed in one of the South American countries, I think. I'm trying to remember what country it was, maybe Venezuela or maybe something like that. Or maybe it wasn't Venezuela. Maybe it was Argentina. I don't know. Anyway, or maybe it was Spain. It was some Spanish country because the woman was speaking in Spanish. And there's this thing where like no means no. Like in order, like, it consent. They have to say yes. They don't say yes, it's not consent. And they put it into law. So they're like, they put a line in the sand and said no. And it's like the women's movement, long live the women's movement.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed is that, you know, when all this stuff was happening it's still happening, but when it was like just in the beginning with the Ukraine and the EU and all this other stuff, and everybody's trying to get together and this, that, and the other thing. But a lot of the people who were making the decisions were women. There was a lot of very powerful women leaders of these small countries that were like, there was like connections being made. And I think that and then of course what happened in Australia, right? That was a huge thing. I mean, I did a thing with Marianne maybe a year and a half ago, or it was a while back. We did one of those things that we did together. And she asked me about Australia and the, you know, and I think it was the election or something. And I said, well, the women are going to do it. The women have to take, once they hook into the divine feminine, I said, then you know, all bets are off. I mean, it's because in Australia they have Ayers. It's not supposed to be called Ayers rock anymore. There's another word for it. the Aboriginal word for it, and I don't know it. But that's like, it's like a landing pad, but it's like it's such a powerful energetic center. I mean, the Aboriginals have been there for like 600,000 years or something. Talk about being connected to the power of the earth. And once the women like come in, I felt like things were real. That was going to be a big shift, and it just happened.
Yeah.
So it's happening. It's happening.
Yeah.
Even, you know, there's a lot of things changing. There's a lot of women getting into positions of power. There's a lot more sort of left-leaning stuff happening now. And a lot of, because the right stuff was like at its pinnacle, I think, with Trump and Bolsonaro and Putin and that. But I think that like that's starting to start to ebb, you know, flow, ebb. Ebb means go away, right? Yeah. Wane. Wane, starting to wane. And I really feel like the feminine energy is rising up now.
Yeah, it does.
In small ways. It's with women, it's always the small ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
The small ways.
This is interesting because I feel like the energies or the guides or your tribe or whoever you connect with is sort of like say, hey, you got my back today. That's changing. That's changing. It's like the old ones are taking a step back and letting new ones in. I think that's what this new moon is about also. And it requires fire. Like it needs it, you know, I feel like there's new energy coming in.
Right. Well, Jupiter is in Aries now, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And you know, whenever a planet goes into Aries, especially the slower moving ones, it's usually like a big shift. So the last time Jupiter went into Aries, it went in with Uranus, and that was in 2010. So that's like the I am, and you know, I am an individual, but there's Uranus, so there's humanitarian. You know, it's just like it's such a big, and now it's like coming in, and it's a little bit of a different flavor.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had the Me Too movement, we've had 4 years of Trump, we've had an insurrection.
Yeah.
You know, like there's, you know, the war back in Europe. I mean, it's just like, you know, talk about, you know, dealing with the past and having to release it. Like it's almost like we're getting like this big dish of, this is the way you always dealt with it in the past, isn't working for you anymore, people. And people are saying, no, absolutely not. Let's throw that, time to let that paradigm go and let's move into a different paradigm. And I think that what's happening is because of all the earth stuff that's happening and the changes in the environment, we're going to have to work together or we're not going to survive. We'll survive, but less and you know, it'll be more of a struggle. If we work together, we can create miracles. And if we work together with the earth herself, I mean, I walk around my yard and I'm getting all kinds of messages. Yeah. I mean, I just, you know, it's like I'll sit there and the chipmunks just like sit at my feet. I feel like freaking Cinderella.
Snow White. I called you Snow White like a year. I'm like, you're like Snow White. They're in the garden. Like the birds like laying on your shoulder. And
it's true. I can't tell how many times butterflies and dragonflies just land on me. And I'm like, this is nuts. But I'm connected. And it's miraculous. It's just a miraculous flow. Yeah. And I'm grateful for it. And you know, I want to share it with everybody, kind of. Yeah. You know? So I think that like maybe this new moon and we'll look at the new moon. I'll pull it up. I think community, connection, communication. I mean, Gemini, for Christ's sakes. Information. The thing that's happening between this new moon and the next, and between the new moon and the full moon, is the January 6th thing. That's huge. Yeah. That is huge.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, let's take a look.
We looked at this, but when is that the hearings start? Do they start
tonight?
On June 9th. Okay, so
so Mercury is direct
out of its shadow. Okay,
but it's still in Taurus. It's not out of its shadow yet. It's still in Taurus. It has to go into Gemini. I don't think it's out of its shadow till the 24th of June. I think that's when it's actually officially out of its shadow, but I could be wrong about that. But it's towards the end of June. Might be right around the summer solstice that it's out, which is always a very powerful time because it's the world point, right? All right, let's take I keep talking. It's like, get to it, lady, will you? Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, that's the full moon. Don't look at that. No, we can look at that certainly, but let's look at the new moon first. Oh goodness gracious. Where is it? Is it no Vladimir Putin? No, what am I doing? Oh, let's do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I do know what I'm doing, but I'm not doing the right thing right now. Let's get, I think this is the yeah, so this is the Aries rising. You see that, honey?
Yeah.
Are we looking at the same thing? Okay. Just making sure I got the technical stuff down. Yeah, so yeah, no, Aries, right? Look at this, right? And then we can't forget that right over here at like 24 is Eris, right? And I can add her, but then everything gets added. But I can still do that. We can add her if we want. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of, and it's interesting because there's a lot of energy up front here, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of energy now in Aries. Of course, there's a lot of energy in Taurus now with the North Node there, and Uranus, right?
Venus just moved into Taurus, so she's all super happy.
She's super, yeah, right. So that when does that happen? Tomorrow, I think, right? Is it tomorrow?
This is the 30th, and she's at 2 degrees, the 20th.
So what's today? Today's the 27th. We're doing this on the 27th. So this might actually happen tomorrow. I think it does. I think it happens Saturday that the moon goes in. Yeah. I mean, Venus goes in, right? To Taurus. Anyway.
Yeah. Tomorrow. Right? Yeah.
I think it's tomorrow. Yeah. So, you know, this is like, and then what's interesting is look at these planets at the later degrees. And I know you've talked about this, right? You talked about this on your thing.
It's like they're bulging.
You know, Neptune Neptune's going to take a while. It doesn't actually go out of a Pisces, I think, until 2025 or 2026. But still, it's like Neptune is like the ruler of Pisces. And so when it moves into Aries, it's going to be like a rebirth of like, or maybe even a spiritualization of the I am, right? But right now we're sort of like still fomenting in all that, like, you know, power over victimizer energy of Pisces, the Pisces Virgo axis. And of course, Saturn is in Aquarius now towards the end. And of course, Pluto in Capricorn. I mean, I think we talked about that the other day too.
Yeah, and it's making squares and trines, everything. It does. It feels like you're just weighted, you know, like you've got magnets on your feet.
Well, you know, it's interesting because what's going on we talked about this before we got on, talking about the utter tragedy in Texas with the just, oh.
Yeah.
But like they keep saying, oh, it's not going to change, but we have Pluto like trying the North Node, you know, I mean, things are going to change. And then Uranus is, you know, it's close to the North Node now, but the North Node and Uranus are going to be moving together because Uranus is about ready to go retrograde. So Uranus and the North Node are going to be moving together. And you know, that's change. That's like change right in our face. Things are happening and you have to change with them. We have no choice.
Yeah, that's a lot of earth movement, huh?
This is a very exciting time to be alive. If we survive it, it's going to be amazing. We just have to get through it. You know, we just have to get through it. We have to just, how do you do that? You just shine your light. That's all. I mean, what else can we do?
Yeah.
You know, we can be our best selves. We can love each other. We can spread the love and the joy as best we can. We can ease the pain and you know, I mean, I really think that you know, you know, you just look around it's just like crazy, you know, like every horrible thing, and then 4 years of Trump, and then a pandemic, and then a war with the Ukraine, and these.
It's like as soon as school opens up, how long has school been open? You know, we are just over this, and all this stuff is starting. I told you it didn't really. I had to kind of stay away from the news because now it's getting bad, right? Now it's getting worse because we're in the blame stage. People are throwing.
Well, they're what it is they're realizing that you know, of course, we were right all along. Everything they were saying was bullshit. That's not really how, you know, the good guy and the bad guy with the gun. That's craziness. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely, and it's. I think this is going to be the end of Abbott. I think Cruz is going to be out of this because of this. I mean, I really think that people are just gonna, you know, and maybe it'll take longer than we would like it to. But you know, there's a big I don't know, we're going to be different people by 2023. We're going to be a different country, and we're going to be in a whole new situation, I think, by the time 2023 rolls around. And that's only like what, 7 months away?
Yeah.
Right? How many months away? 7. Yeah, 7.
Yeah. Well, our midterms are coming up.
Right. Well, that's going to be quite the Moon Shadows episode.
maybe moonshine episode.
Yeah, we'll have moonshine with the moon shadows. That we're gonna probably need it, you know, because the it's on, the eclipse is on the day of the what do you call there's an eclipse on the day of the election.
Bring chocolate.
And if you listen to Cash Peters, who I love, he talks about, you know, he's like, America's either gonna pick the good and it's going to be amazing, or they're not and it's going to be awful. So we have a choice. Do you want it to be amazing or awful? I go for amazing.
Yeah,
I pick amazing.
We're due for amazing.
Yeah, it's rebirth. It's Pluto return. Let's be reborn. Let's not have this 248 years be based on Puritanism and slavery and killing the Indians. Let's do something different.
Yeah. Well, this is going to change stuff.
You know, the other interesting thing about this chart is that the sun and the moon are isolated. You see, they're not connected to anything really. Well, actually, I'll take that back. They're trine Chiron. Not trine, sextile Chiron. Right, here's sun, moon. The only thing that's really close, well, I guess Mars is too, and Jupiter. All right, I'll take it back. So all this Aries energy with all this Gemini energy. And I think that, like, also it has to do with, you know, information coming out. I think the January 6th thing is going to be big. Right? So this is
fire.
This is the chart with the Aries rising, right? Let's look at and I hope people don't mind, because there are people that watch us that aren't from America. But considering America is either going to like save everybody or destroy everybody, we should probably look at that. Let's see what the new moon looks like for America. So this is the same new moon, right? But it's for Washington.
And it's Memorial Day weekend. So that throws a nice little layer of frosting on this new moon cake, right?
Yeah. And, you know, we have to remember that I mean, today's the 27th. We're doing this on the 27th. The 25th was 2 years for that George Floyd was murdered.
Right.
And then it was a week before that anniversary, I guess, which isn't really a thing to call it, but remembrance of that moment. Those poor women and men were killed in Buffalo. And then we have this, you know, sort of bookend to Sandy Hook with and it's interesting because those two charts, it's a nodal reversal of those two.
Right.
So So there's a lot of things, like seeing both sides, like there's things coming together. Everything seems to be in its way coming together for us to look at the black and the white, right?
Yeah.
That's what Gemini's about. It's you know what I find interesting is there's so many there's so many like myths about like twins and one killing the other, like Cain and Abel and Romulus and Remus, and although I don't know if one killed the other or not, but there's like all these themes about one brother is dead and is in heaven and the other one's on earth, and I think it's reflective of our remembrance that we're like both eternal, and you know there's a part of us that is not here. There's the part that's here, our ego and our personality, and how we have to walk through the world of density, and then there's our higher self, and our ability to connect to that is our ability to ascend and to bring the earth up and to bring the spirit down. It's an integration. And I think that duality, that Gemini stuff, maybe we could have a little bit more of an understanding of that. And I don't know if I just made any sense. Did I make any sense at all?
Yeah, it made sense.
Okay, good.
It is, and it is about duality. And you said the other night, we have to have duality or we wouldn't appreciate the good, right? I mean,
right. Well, that's the whole idea behind the Lover's card in the tarot, which is interesting, of course, because the Lover's card is the sixth card.
The sixth year.
You're in the sixth month,
mm-hmm.
right? And so this is really that sort of lover's energy. And on the tree of life, the lovers is between Bina, the divine feminine, and Tiphareth, the sun, Sunson, of God, goddess, all there is, the redeemer. So that path, this and with the new moon in Gemini, it activates that path, which is the lover's path. But we're in a universal year of 6, which is the lover's card.
Yeah.
So this is like all coming.
Yeah.
You know, it's I can't even tell you how big it is.
Yeah.
You know, the interesting thing is I looked at this chart and I'm like, oh, well, at least it's like I think the lunations for the last, like, what seems like 10 years have been like, and this one I was like, oh, it's not too bad. But now that I'm getting into it, I'm like, it's not that it's not bad. It's just like, I feel like this is like a big, how did I put it? I was just talking to a friend of mine. And I said, I feel like that we're having a big release. There's a big release coming.
Yeah.
Big release of energy.
Yeah.
And it's gonna just propel us like to a new level.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
and that is exactly what fire does. Is fire will release pressure.
That's right. And we have fire and air, right?
But
there's also
or Mars conjunct Jupiter.
You know what we don't have a lot of? We don't have a lot of water, do we?
There isn't.
We have Neptune and we have the South Node.
Yeah.
Which happen to be trying each other.
Yeah.
Right? But there isn't a whole lot of water. You know what? Let me just I'm just going to complicate this chart a little bit. I want to see where the asteroids are. So
yeah.
I think that'll be good, right? Okay, let me just do that. This is so much fun. I'm having so much fun on it.
Isn't this cool? I love this.
I like it. There we go. Let's see what's going on. Well, okay. So we do have some more water. We have Vesta in Pisces.
Okay.
We have Juno in Pisces. So that's good. We have Black Moon. Oh, good. Oh, okay. Yeah. So we have Black Moon, Lilith, and Ceres in Cancer.
Conjunct, yeah.
See, this to me, this Ceres, I've been examining Ceres for a little while. When I see Ceres, I feel like there's a reaping.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reaping, a cutting down. And this could be the cutting down of the children. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 Yep. in Cancer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is actually, this series is on the Jupiter of the United States. Jupiter is education, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. Actually, Gemini is elementary education, and Jupiter is higher, sort of like college, and what do they call that? The education that you have to have.
Postgraduate?
No, the stuff that you have to have, and then you don't have to go to school anymore. There's an expression, I can't think of it. It's like the education. It's like grammar school, high school. That's, you have to do that.
Yeah. Undergrad?
No. There's
Oh no, that's not. Yeah.
There's a word, I can't think of it. Of course, Gemini is all about words, right? I can't think of a stupid word. So I mean, this is and interesting. The South Node all by itself, feeling lonely, all by itself over here. But then when we have the full moon, let me pull that up. Right, let's take a look.
Yeah, I want to see what the June full moon.
I thought I pulled it up. I guess I didn't.
Sag there.
Full moon in Sag, right? Oh, there it is. Thank you, honey. So this is the full moon in Sag, but for the United States, I don't have it for just everybody else. But even then, it's still, I mean, we have the moon on this side now at least, but it's still not that close, right? It's 30 degrees away. But the interesting thing about this full moon is it's on Donald Trump's birthday.
Right.
And it's like, it's right on his nodes too. So it's going to be very interesting. He has a terrible chart right now. His chart is very, very under a lot of stress. So I don't really see him going very far with any of that.
No, that'll be interesting to see what happens this weekend.
Now the full moon is on the galactic center, right?
That's what I was wondering. I'm like, yeah, I need to take a look at that because I feel there's just stuff coming in. Like when I say like, I don't mean for people to like discard their old guides, but that energy that floated you over the past few years, some of it was a fear, COVID, some of it was anger. We had a rough presidency there.
True.
And those were energies that were keeping us afloat. Those need to go away. That needs to go away in order for the next to be ushered in.
Yeah. We have to see stuff, and we not just see it and know it, but feel it. Like for me in my life, I've always known things before I've been able to feel them. And it's like, it's a theory first, and then you have to go through the process of feeling it. And that's the hardest part. And and in a way to me, that's the Scorpio part, is to really like, with Scorpio, you're kind of like submerged in it, whatever it is. And now it's about like crawling out of the, it's like in a way, it's like the moon card in the tarot, where the little creepy crawly crab or lobster, or in some cases a scarab, I think I've seen coming out of the unconscious, right? And then you have the two towers in the back. That's duality. So realizing that that we're in this duality, and that it's part of our nature. So there's always going to be duality. It just depends on how far apart you want to get. Right. And then, we come closer and closer together, then we don't necessarily have to go through the extremes that we did before, because we're rising up the spiral. And the spiral it's a spiral. This is how we rise up, but it's fatter at the bottom. Right? It's like the pendulum swing and the spiral. It's like something going like this. And we're doing this, and we don't have to go through, like in the old days, they would have like 100-year wars.
Yeah. No.
We don't have to do that anymore. We could do it in, we could do, of course, the United States seems to like 20 years for some reason, but that's done. I think we're done with that. I think people are done with that. People don't want it. People just want it to be, people are just like, this is ridiculous. Let's stop this, right?
Enough is enough. You can't starve everybody. It's just ridiculous. What's interesting is the symbol for Mercury is the caduceus, right? And we're talking about like the spiral there. So that's this like new moon thing is about spiraling out.
That's right. And this new moon, and of course, because it's Mercury, because it's Gemini, we have to see what Mercury's doing in this in the new moon. Let me go back to the new moon, because now we're in the full moon. Okay,
Mercury's still in Taurus, right? We said that.
Yes, and it's retrograde.
Yeah.
And it's retrograde, and it's trine the Pluto of the United States.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So, and it's trine Pluto. This is, talk about changing your mind. Pluto trine Neptune, and changing it about very, very like life and death, earthly things. This is not like theory in the head. It's real. It's reality. It's reality that if we don't do it differently, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
That's really what, and again, not everybody, but do you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Eventually it's just like, stop.
Mm-hmm.
I just see like Greta Thunberg, like sitting, outside the parliament, like probably not that long ago or wherever she was sitting outside. And now there's a whole worldwide movement.
Right.
And how about all the kids, all the kids got out of school and did you hear about that?
No.
High schools, all these schools, they went out at like a certain time of day in solidarity for the children who were killed in Texas. They had they were in the stadium. They made their bodies into a big U. They had I forget what state capital it was. The kids just had like a die out, and there were all these children laying in front of the whatever capital it was.
Wow.
I don't know if it was Rhode Island or Connecticut or somewhere. And it was eerie because you see the image, and it's all these kids just laying on the ground like they're dead. And that's really what it is. I mean, we're sacrificing our children through what? The love of an automatic weapon? What's wrong with us?
I know.
What the? I almost said it. I would have had to beep that out, even though I don't know how.
That doesn't, I don't know. I don't understand. Like, there's, somebody, what do you need an automatic rifle for? Really?
You wonder why the kids don't want to listen to grown-ups, because grown-ups freaking crazy.
What do you need one for? If you're hunting, you don't use that.
You don't need it. Nobody needs it. Humanity does not need an automatic weapon. Humanity does not need a nuclear weapon.
Right.
Humanity does not need that.
Right.
What we need is food and shelter and air and clean water. That's what humanity needs.
Right.
Jeff Bezos and Mellon or Muskie guy, they can go to Mars and stay there as far as I'm concerned. Leave the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth. I'm meek. Give me the earth and I will take care of it.
Right.
All you knuckleheads, you can go to a different planet as far as I'm concerned.
Maybe they will.
Yeah,
Maybe they will. That's good.
We can only hope.
I know. I like it here. I mean, think about it. You can only get there if you have a lot of money. So let them all go.
Yeah, go. It's interesting because there's a lot of terrible things happening, but there's so many good things happening too. I mean, the fact that they have a labor union in New York, and the guy who did it he got fired, and him and his friend did it together. His friend was still in Amazon. He was outside of Amazon. He would stand by the bus station and talk to people about the thing, and they voted. It's like amazing. It's like a David and Goliath story. It's like
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's showing us that we can speak truth to power. You know, this whole thing with these poor children down in Texas, the fact that the cops were just standing around and nobody was doing anything for like an hour. The parents were like beside themselves, and they were arresting the parents and tackling them to the ground so they wouldn't go in the school to save their own children. One woman was put in handcuffs and finally convinced like one of the local cops to like tell them to get, like the marshals, the U.S. Marshals, put her in handcuffs. So she got out of the handcuffs. She ran over the fence and went in and got her kid. A mother ran into the school to save, and the cops are standing there with their Kevlar belts on and everything, and they're just standing there. It's like, no. Do we really need those guys? Like, talk about obsolescence.
Yeah.
Right? Like they just, you know.
That was the last thing I saw, and I thought, yeah, that kind of makes sense. The more you hear about the story, like he was in there for an hour before anybody showed up.
And the kids were calling 911 on their phones and saying, somebody help us. There's a guy in here shot our teacher. It's just, there's no words. There's no words.
There isn't any other country that's suffering from this. If you think about it, are we getting reports from any other country about school shootings? Can we see a graphic? I'm going to pull up a graphic someday and see, just start there, like school shootings. And no, it's just the United States.
Yeah. They were, I don't know if you watched this one. There was a report from Sky News, and I think it might have been, I don't know if it was England or Australia. I'm a little embarrassed that sometimes I get the I don't get them confused. I get the accent confused. So I wasn't sure if it was I think it was an English guy though. And he asked Ted Cruz, he's like, why is American exceptionalism like that? They have these school shootings, and he's like, oh, you're making it political. And he's like, no, we just want to know. We want to understand, like the rest of the world doesn't understand why America like has these school shootings and church shootings. And I mean, the church thing, actually it does happen. It happens in places in the Middle East where they're, blowing each other up. Everybody's blowing up mosques. And then there was a thing in Israel with that woman who was shot in the head, the reporter, and then they attacked her pallbearers, and the body almost fell out of it was like, I mean, how much crazier can it be? And you know what? Gemini rules reporters, right? Or Gemini. And reporters are getting killed like crazy, especially in Mexico. Like, there's just so much. You can make so many connections.
There are so many things that, school, churches, synagogues, they shouldn't be the wrong place. That's never the wrong place at the wrong time, ever. It's not the wrong place.
I'm sorry. So what have you been smelling?
Amber was coming in, and I do have an amber candle, and that's sort of been, I haven't really sort of sat down and been able to meditate and think about it so much. I keep getting the word jade in my head. I'm like, why is that a crystal I need to use? So I'm thinking I'll work with that. And that's about kind of breaking through obstacles.
It's also, I think jade is also a peace. It helps to
for peace. Perfect. Serenity. Excellent.
I think jade is like that sort of like, like kind of vibe.
Everything. That, and I think what I've been asking people is, it doesn't really matter what you do or how you do your new moon ritual, as long as you say it out loud. The moon's in Gemini, the sun's in Gemini, that's an air sign. That's something we need to verbalize out into the universe. It needs to, the sound wave needs to go out there. And I've also been asking people to say what needs to be said about gun laws while you're doing your new moon intention. Throw that in for me, and let's get that energy going. Right? Just say it out loud. Doesn't matter who hears. You know, if it matters who hears you, say it out loud somewhere where nobody hears you. It doesn't matter what direction you're standing in or who you're facing, where you're facing. Just say the intentions out loud this time. For sure. The other day, the moon had this like pair thing going on. The only day I saw it this week. It was the only day I saw it this week. That's so interesting. And I thought, well, maybe their pairs are just, you know, the trees are starting to blossom now or something. I don't know. Nothing really unusual. And that was the day we had our fun doggo delivery drivers. And there were a lot of very fragrant flowers that came in baskets that day. So I think that was part of it.
Yeah, because Gemini is associated with smell, I believe. And the word is discrimination through smell.
Yeah, and I've been...
So maybe we need to really pay attention to what we're smelling.
Pay attention to what, and I've been tasting more than smelling. It seems like I have more of a taste thing going on, and I keep trying to, you know, use a lot of mints, cinnamon. I always have a piece of candy or something. It seems like I'm tasting more things, and a lot of peppery, you know, spicy, that Aries, Mars and Aries kind of thing. It's like my tongue's on fire.
My husband, the other night, for some reason, we've been eating food that's been very hot lately. Yeah. And my husband does use spice and heat in his foods, but not like to the point where I can't eat it. But things have just been so hot lately. Like I feel like I'm actually, because I eat hot stuff, I feel like I'm more sensitive to heat some way, especially in my mouth. Like I feel like a real inflammation in a way in my life. Maybe that's about speaking your truth, like really putting yourself out there and putting out who you are. Be like, we had that conversation about my friend who, you know, was like, she's 2 years from retiring, and she's like, you know, she's like, I wish I could say stuff to people. I'm like, well, start saying it. You know, you have tenure, just say it. You show people who you are. You know, you're and I know this woman, known this woman since we were like, I don't know, 12. And she's amazing. And she's so bright, and she's so many wonderful qualities that if she's not showing people this, then she's doing a disservice to the planet.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that we need to just, you know, like be who we are, or at least who we are in the moment, because we're always changing. And who we are right now is not really who we are, because there's so many levels to us. Yeah. But you still have to like be in the moment that you're in and express yourself in the way that you can. And I think the Gemini new moon helps us, you know, is a seed for that. Yeah. Is a seed for that. And then by the time the full moon comes up, right, we're and I'll pull that up because I think
that'll be interesting. I think the pepper thing is about speaking your truth. It does seem to. It's also really good anti-inflammatory. It's really good for pain. And I think this new moon, part of it with Venus and Taurus is about body care, taking care of ourselves now, adjusting to.
Yeah, well, the North Node in Taurus, right? The body. Yeah. Body basics. You know, Taurus is about getting down to basics, right? As you know what I say in my classes. Taurus is a good meal, a good fuck, and a good shit. That's what Taurus is. It's very basic, and you have to enjoy all of those things. Like that's very Taurian. It's very like, you know, but we're here on Earth, and we have to accept those parts of ourselves.
Yeah. You know? Absolutely. Yeah.
We have to, humanity, the word human comes from humus, which means earth, and mana, which is mind. So it's a dirty mind. We all have dirty minds. That was from my teacher, John D. Martini. I love saying that, but I like to always give him a little addendum that it was his, that he came up with that. I wasn't that funny.
I like that. I like that.
So by the time we get this full moon, right, we have Mercury. Look where Mercury is. Mercury is in the first degree of Gemini. It just had its inferior conjunction. Mercury and the Sun came together in its inferior conjunction, which is the conjunction that happens when Mercury is retrograde. It's when Mercury is closest to the Earth, and at the time of the new moon, it's at that degree again.
Yeah.
So, there's this very inward sort of Mercury retrograde moment. And now by that full moon, it's going to come out. And it's, also Trump's birthday, and it's his solar return. And, there's a lot of, and look at this. I didn't even see that till now.
Oh.
Mars conjunct Chiron.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting.
I know.
There's always something, and it's in Aries. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And these middle degrees of the signs are very powerful, because it's like one half is over, now you're going into the second half of things. Mm-hmm. And so the energy shifts and changes. Yeah, we're just in amazing times. I'm so glad I have somebody like Ona to share it with.
Yeah, because we send each other texts like, yo, that freaking Venus square. Oh, look what she did.
I know, it's great. I was somebody, one of my actually students made a comment on my astrology of today, and she's like, oh, this is when the Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing is ending today, and with Pluto square Venus, right?
Yep, there it is.
Very, 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 very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't see.
And of course, Pluto square Venus is still within orbit for conjunction Eris, right? Because Eris is at 24. Venus is what, like maybe now 29. So it's still 28, 29. It's still pretty tight there. There's a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah. Well, after events, you have to process, right? So Venus is moving into Taurus. She'll just go get her nails done and stuff tomorrow and forget about it.
Well, she's more likely to go into the garden, I think. If she was in Libra, she'd get her nails done. Or Leo. Definitely get her nails done in Leo. Yeah. But Taurus is planting, this is her sign. Taurus is her sign. Yeah. This is very powerful for the feminine. Yeah. And Venus has been through the ringer. I mean, she was retrograde in Capricorn. She conjunct Pluto 3 times. She conjunct Mars twice. She was between Pluto and Saturn for like, I don't know how long. I mean, talk about being between a rock and a hard place. You can't get harder than Saturn and Pluto. Being between that.
It was a weird winter, right?
We're living in interesting times.
Yeah.
What can I say?
When you reflect back on it and you put those together and you blend, you're like, yeah, Venus had a rough winter. It was a hard.
She did. I mean, but I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful. I know. I feel the shift. I feel the change. I pulled a couple of cards, some interesting cards for just quickly crystal alloy cards. And I'll tell you the 3 that came up. We got aquamarine, which is release.
Okay.
Release.
Okay.
Amethyst.
Okay.
Which is divine connection.
All third eye stuff.
And fire agate, which is passion.
Okay.
These are the 3 cards that came up. This is water. This is air.
Yeah.
And this is fire, right?
That's the Mars conjunct Jupiter for the fire, the air.
Aquamarine is the Pisces energy of Neptune, right? And the other Pisces, what was it? Vesta and Pallas, Athena, and even Cancer, Ceres in Cancer, and then divine connection, right?
Yeah.
This is air. This is Gemini, right? Maybe the Gemini energy.
Yeah.
But according to, I'm gonna very, very briefly say what she says about these. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Aquamarine first.
I used aquamarine in the fall. Was it a Libra or Venus? It was an altar to Venus, and there was aquamarine on it. It's actually still downstairs, so that's really interesting. So it's honoring Venus status.
So it says here, aquamarine is encouraging you to let go of attachment. Maybe attached to a particular outcome and feel that is the only one that will bring you happiness, but the universe has a plan you cannot see. Trying to control the current situation is like trying to squeeze that fistful of water. Let go and allow the universe to bring you the outcome that is to your highest good. So it's about releasing control. It's associated with the throat chakra, which is what we were talking about. Yeah. Allowing yourself to, don't control it, just let it flow. Yeah. You know, the throat chakra is where spirit speaks through us. It's, it's divine will through and co-creation through vibration, right? We vibrate. When we speak words, we vibrate them into existence. Yeah. In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was God. So we are creating, and that's the power of Gemini, is the power to speak it. Yeah. Creation, right? I joyfully release anything that no longer serves my highest good. That's what it says is the thing, the mantra for that. Yes. So amethyst is divine connection. So let me read that if I can find. Oh, I should have put little things in. You know how you put little things in the. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I put loose cards in my book sometimes.
Yeah, I should have just put the cards in the book, but I just picked them. So, amethyst, divine connection, chakras, the third eye, Anja, and the crown, Svadhisthana. I always say it wrong. I am open to divine guidance. It says when amethyst enters your card, spirit is sending you a message. Be alert for opportunities, messages, and signs that may indicate the direction of the divine. Your higher self and your highest guides are preparing you. These signs may come in the form of intuition or a hunch or a gut feeling. You are being sent a wake-up call and a message to prepare for the working of the divine in your life. Good. Powerful. And lastly, fire agate.
Focus.
Okay. Fire agate is passion. This is your sacral chakra and your solar plexus. So Manipura, which is the solar plexus, and Svadhisthana, which is the sacral. And so these are two lower chakras. I follow my passion to fulfill my purpose. And it says fire agate encourages to go for it.
Perfect.
Follow your passion and your joy and express who you truly are. Did we not say that?
Yep.
We're so good.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Is there anything else you would like to add, my dear?
I think that just, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it manifests and what happens between now and then. I'm going to be working the next couple of days and how this new moon energy is going to unfold. I'll have more.
Yes. Yeah. And we could always do an update.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I don't know.
Moon shadows.
There's meteor showers that night on the 30th and the 31st. The whole United States will be, the continental is under the wing of these meteor showers. You look to the southwest sky. I mean, I know if I try to look for it, it won't happen. If I say, hey, I need to know what's going on, or can you give me another sign? Repeat yourself, please. Show me something, I need to see a pattern happen. And I'm like, okay, I have something to report here. Because this, it all kind of added up. So it's starting to kind of build.
What's interesting? I feel like this, each moon shadow has a little different vibe to it, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like this was a conversational one, which is what Gemini is all about. It's all about, just going back and forth with ideas and what comes into your head and speaking it. And so this perhaps will be a month of revelation of what comes through. And we could always do this around the full moon, and see, because again, between the new moon and the full moon, we're in a different world. From what happened to Buffalo to what happened in Texas, we're in a different world. I don't know if I feel it. I'm sure you feel it, and people feel it. I mean, they're just, the other thing that's interesting is I'm watching the reporters who are reporting this stuff, and they're all, even Fox News people are crying, mostly the women. But even the men, they're between the Ukraine and this and that and Buffalo, and it's like people are they're just like,
good. We need to see that side of people, and everybody needs to know that it's okay, and everybody does it, and you can't always control that,
Nor should we.
We really have a tearful response and more of a taste response when I heard about this. And I was driving, and I told you the story. The kids were getting out of school, and I was at the stop sign, and the kids are getting out of school, and I just welled up, and I could start crying right now, just watching these kids leave school in the afternoon. I'm like, wow, this is bad. This was bad. Gorgeous, right? It's like beautiful hair, grandparents, parents, and dogs like picking up their kids from school. And it just like a tower, right? Like the tower like just hit me like, wow, this is bad.
Yeah.
That's how it hit me. It was just crazy. And we can't do this.
No. It's for a while, like,
allow this to happen anymore. We're like allowing it to happen. To me, it seems like,
because we've been convinced that we can't change it, but we can change. And I've been saying this for a while now. It's like our consciousness can change like this, and we could totally shift our consciousness, and within less than a decade we could turn this all around. Turn it all around. But we have to be aware that it's a possibility. And I think that in order to, sometimes things have to be proved wrong before people will believe that it's, and I think like things like this whole, like, the paradigm is shifting. The paradigm is definitely shifting. And it's shifting in the direction of life and love and the feminine and the feelings and the body. And we're calling our it's time to call our warriors home. It's time to beat what is it, to beat guns into plowshares, or whatever that expression is. That's what has to happen. What has to happen. And it's not about who's going to make the most money from it. It's going to be really basic stuff that we have to simplify and stabilize. That's what we have to do.
Right.
And we're being forced to do that.
I'm so glad I was forced to do that when I retired from the nursing profession, that I was forced to simplify, because that was a drive that made me sick. Right.
Well, it's in a way it's about doing what's best for you. And sometimes it takes something very dramatic for us to even be to get there. I can't tell you how many friends of mine have had to get to the edge of death before they opened their arms to life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's that, I think that's true of many, many people, a lot of people, get into their psychic stuff because, everything that they did before they couldn't either do anymore for maybe sickness or circumstance or but it allows us to really figure out who we are and what we're here to do. We're here to shine a light, and everybody's light is the same, and yet everybody's light is different, right?
Yeah.
And we create this tapestry. It's like all the connections that happen. Like the other night in class, when we were in the Kabbalah class, there's so many people from different parts of the country in that class. It's like the coast, the south, the north. I felt like we had the whole United States covered.
I know.
I was like, wow, this is amazing. I have to actually like look in my book and see, like, I think I'm going to make a map and I'm going to dot where everybody's at for my own edification and say, there's a network right there. Right.
Yes.
And we just have to keep doing these network. I know I'm keeping you a long time, and this is going probably longer. It's Gemini. What do you expect? But I one time had this vision of, like, I was visualizing the earth, and the earth suddenly like started to disappear, and instead of the earth there was this web of light. And it was like the earth was on some level losing its density in this vision that I had. And things just became lighter and lighter and lighter. And so I think it has to do with an initiation of the earth into like a higher vibrational frequency.
Yeah.
And we're part of that. Like, the earth is not separate from us. Everything is evolving in this, the higher realms and the lower realms, and the earthly realms and the heavenly realms. We're all sort of going through this evolutionary process of becoming more integrated in the light.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Again, interesting times to be around, right?
It is.
I am so glad that I get to share it with you, Ona.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this. Pearl's like whipping around trying to get my attention. It seems like he only does like circles me when I'm talking to you, like during class he'll do that, or maybe he knows Giblets is sleeping and he can get some cuddles. I don't know what's up with him, but I don't know.
Well, they love the energy. Cats love the energy.
He lets me know. Yeah.
Charlie has been like so lovey and just.
Has he?
Oh my God, he's so funny.
That's interesting.
This morning I'm sitting in the living room and he loves to like lay right here. So
yeah.
For some reason he thinks my breasts are like the like best pillows and the best things to like, dig his. You're like, hey, those are attached, honey. But so I'm sitting there, right, and Michael comes down from the bedroom, and he turns around and he goes, hey, look at you two. And as soon as Michael like came in the room, the cat started purring like, and he came over and he's patting him, and the cat was just like, and I'm like, he's so funny. He's so funny.
Yeah, there's a change. The birds have been very, very, very active the past few days. I've not seen a butterfly, barely a couple of bees, but there's definitely some change. And I like to say new moon because, this is when people go fishing.
That's right.
We know there's a change in pressure and there's an advantage to fishing during new and full moons, right? But there's definitely more activity. Or maybe I'm just noticing, I don't know, and hearing it.
Well, I don't know. I go in my yard every day and I have this new app that tells you what birds are in your yard.
Yeah.
I went around the yard. There were like 10 different species of birds, like in my, and I know that there was 10 that were listed, and I've seen the other ones. I've seen the nuthatches. I've seen the chickadees. I've seen
Wow.
the warblers. I've seen them all, but I don't like, you don't see all the other birds necessarily, and I don't know the calls. So I'm learning the calls of the birds, but
Wow.
it's amazing. It's just, it's like a cacophony here. And we've actually had
Oh,
a
yeah.
ton of bees. This, like last year it didn't seem like we had bees till like later in the year. I was nervous, and then we didn't see butterflies. We've seen butterflies already. There's bees everywhere. We saw our first dragonfly the other day. It's just so active. It's just so active.
Yeah, I haven't really had not a lot, just even with all the flowers and stuff. That's where I see most of that. Certainly not around here, but not a lot of activity, which is really, really interesting.
It might just be the, like you said, the weather's been,
It's
we,
sporadic.
it just got warm here, like, and it's been like beautiful warm, not like hot, humid, awful. It's been like
Yeah.
the best, like, rain, overcast, or beautiful,
Yeah.
which I'm good with, because let
We
me
had
tell you.
hot, and we're getting another hot spell like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's going to be in the 90s again, something. And it was freezing cold. It was cold and rainy day. It's maybe that's it why I haven't really seen or witnessed a lot of that stuff going on. But I hope I get to. I mean, I got like the butterfly thing ready, and I got the curly parsley out on the balcony. So
They'll all come. They're gonna definitely come, especially with this new moon. And Gemini always reminds me of butterflies.
yeah.
Like, to me, Gemini flip from one thing to another. Very.
That's what yeah, because of the wings, right? The Gemini, the glyph looks just like their anchor. Um, Learning how to recognize the bird songs is so Gemini new moon, right? And actually repeating it, like being able to call that in.
Yeah, I
What a
have.
cool Gemini new moon thing.
It's a free app. It's let me see, and I'll mention it if I can find it. If not, I'll put it in the descriptor. If anybody's interested, it's just been so much fun. I almost feel like it's a way for. I don't know if they take the information that you get from the app and they maybe put it in some sort of
Yeah.
computer to see like the migration patterns of the birds. I don't know if this is a way to keep track of.
It asks for your location.
Yeah, it asks you. Well, yeah, yeah. So, which I don't mind telling. I mean, if anybody wants to find me, I announce it every day, so I'm not hiding from anybody. I'll tell you
See
that.
if I could put it up to giblets, like crying and whining in the morning, and see what kind of bird he sounds like.
All right, let me just see here.
Bad bird.
It's called. Hold on. It's called the Cornell Merlin Bird ID. Cornell Merlin Merlin Bird ID through Cornell Lab, and it's a free app, and it's great.
Yeah.
Because it tells you the bird sounds, and then it also has, like, if you see a bird, you can look at it that way. So it's like a birders thing. It's just, and I knew there'd be an app for it, huh?
I have a one for plants. It's called Plant Snap.
Yeah, I want to get that.
Yeah, and it tells you all about it.
Now, is that free, or do you have to pay for that?
It's free. I use it at the greenhouse. I don't know.
I just saw something on my I just saw a plant on my driveway that I was like, I know this is something, but I don't know what it is. And I'm like, I wonder if there's an app for it. And of course there is. So.
Do you have Google Lens? Google Lens might be able to identify it also.
I'll do plants. What is it? Plant Snap?
Plant Snap.
Plant Snap. Okay, good. I'll put that in the descriptor as well.
Learning a new skill. There you go.
Learning a new skill. That's right. Yeah. Well, this is important. Because Gemini deals with identification. Categorizing things, right?
Yeah.
Naming things. It says it in the Bible. You have the power to name all the creatures. That's why man thinks he has dominion over nature, but he doesn't. He's a co-creative force of nature. He doesn't control it, right? Yeah. Release the idea that you control anything and get in with the flow. That's what I say. So yeah, so a lot of good information. This was great. I had no idea where we were going, but I'm glad we went there.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
All right, everyone, have a great new moon, and put your intentions out there. What do you want to create? Vibrate it into existence. Maybe even some toning or singing.
Yep.
Sing into existence.
Yeah.
But have it come from your heart.
Yeah.
And then leave it. Like put the intention and then let it go. Because and then one of the other things I always like to say is my intention, and then I always leave room for or better. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I need a couch.
Yeah.
Let me get a nice couch, or better, let me get a leather couch, right? Like we had that conversation too. So one other thing that my husband says to me, because I'm notorious for never seeing anything, like, where's the milk? He's like, it's right there in the refrigerator. I'm like, I don't see it. And he'll say to me, he'll say, he says, where's the first place you looked? I'll look there first. Or where have you looked? I'll look there first. That's what he says to me. And he finds it, of course, because, and he says, it's not about, he says, I said, why do you always find it? He said, because I go in with the intention of finding it, not looking for it.
Yeah.
I look for it, I find it. And I was like, such an Aries thing. And I think it's so much wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So much wisdom.
Yeah.
All right, Ona.
The Reiki, our Reiki people, the Reiki masters find stuff. It's like, it's crazy. We can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Totally can connect into that.
I think my husband's magical power is that he trusts his knowing.
Yeah.
He trusts his knowing, and I think that there's a lesson in that. There's a lesson in that.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, we're gonna say sayonara. I think that's how you say it. We love you.
Thank you.
Namaste, everyone. Have a great month.
Yeah. Have a great moon.
Moon. Have a great moon.
Yes.